Welcome to my channel P Concepts CHM. This is the second part of the 555 timer series. Here we will be seeing the applications of 555 timer. First is the RAM generator. This is the application of a monostable multivibrator. In monostable operation, we had seen that the capacitor charges through a resistor and it produces an exponential waveform. If we use a constant current source to charge a capacitor, linear charging ramp is obtained. A PNP transistor is employed in the constant current source. So this is the collector, this is the base, and this is the emitter of the PNP transistor. The constant current can be found as VCC equal to ICRE, that is the voltage drop across RE, plus VE. So we can rearrange this equation as ICRE is equal to VCC minus VE, and can find the collector current, which will be constant, that is equal to VCC minus VE upon RE. So when the 555 monostable is triggered, the constant current source allows the capacitor to charge and a linear ramp is obtained, that is shown in this waveform. This is the charging ramp. It is obtained across the capacitor, that is at the output. The slope of this ramp can be written as S is equal to dV, this change in voltage, dV divided by dt. V can be written as Q upon C. This is Q is the charge and C is the capacitance. Capacitance is constant. We can take C here. 1 by C can be written, and that will be dQ by dt. And what is dQ by dt? It is the current, I suffix C. So this is the slope of the ramp. The peak value of the ramp, that is the capacitor, will charge till 2 VCC by 3. So we can also write the maximum voltage, that is the slope, can be written as 2 VCC by 3 divided by the time period T. Rearrange this equation, we can take T on the other side. So T is equal to 2 VCC upon 3S, and then we can substitute the slope that we have got, slope of the ramp, and we get the time period as 2 VCC into C upon 3I. Next application is IC555 as a voltage controlled oscillator, that is VCO, or voltage to frequency converter. This is a circuit diagram in the stable mode. The input voltage or the control voltage, V control, that is applied to pin number 5. It can change the output frequency. Normally the voltage in an stable operation at pin number 5 is 2 VCC by 3. However, if an external voltage is applied with the help of this potentiometer, we can change the voltage at pin number 5 so that it doesn't remain fixed at 2 VCC by 3. So when you use this potentiometer, it will override the voltage of 2 VCC by 3. Now the voltage can change from Vcon by 2 to Dcon, as shown in this figure. So the will now charge according to these voltages. So hence charging and discharging time of the capacitor is altered. This changes the period and hence the frequency of the circuit. Pulse width modulator. Here a pulse width modulator is shown in the monostable mode. The values of R, C, UTP and VCC determine the width of the output pulse. So the width of the output is given as W is equal to minus RC into ln of 1 minus UTP by VCC. When the voltage at the threshold comparator, that is the upper comparator, 2/3 of VCC, and the control voltage applied at pin 5 decides UTP. So the UTP is decided by the upper comparator's reference voltage of 2/3 VCC and the voltage at pin number 5. The modulating signal, as you can see, is applied to pin number 5. This modulating signal is a voice or computer data which is varying continuously. The instantaneous value of UTP is then given by 2/3 of VCC, that is the reference voltage. In that we will have to also add the modulating voltage V suffix mod. This means V mod will decide or change the value of UTP, thereby it changing the width of the output pulse. The clock signal of desired carrier frequency is applied as shown, from which the negative trigger pulses are derived. We can derive it with the help of a diode and a R1C1 combination, which will work as a differentiator, that is not shown in the diagram. These negative trigger pulses are applied to pin number 2. So these are negative pulses. Since the 555 timer is in a monostable mode, each trigger pulse will produce an output pulse. So for each pulse, for the pulse at this position A, a pulse here is produced at this position A. So the trigger pulse decides the starting time of the output pulses. The period of the trigger being capital T, the output pulses will be a series of rectangular pulses with period T. So the same time period of the clock pulses you will get at the output also. The modulating signal has no effect on the period, but it does change the pulse width of the output. So total time period will not be affected, but the pulse width, the on time, will be affected. Hence, the output at pin number 3 is the desired PWM signal. For example, at point A, the positive peak of the modulating signal widens the pulse width, because here the modulating signal is more. While at the position B, or at point B, the negative peak, the modulating voltage has become negative, or it has decreased. So it will narrow the pulse width. So it has decreased. The pulse width was more when it has reached at the position A. Now it has decreased. That is, when the modulating signal increases, the UTP increases, the pulse width also increases. When the modulating signal decreases, UTP decreases, the pulse width decreases. In PWM, the period is constant and it is determined by the frequency of the input trigger. This means that the leading edge of the output pulse always occurs after a fixed interval of time. Pulse width modulation is used in communications. It allows a low frequency modulating signal such as voice or data to change the pulse width of a high frequency signal called as a carrier. Next is pulse position modulator. Position of the pulse varies according to the modulating signal, while the amplitude and the width of the pulse are kept constant. The position of each pulse changes according to the instantaneous sample voltage of the modulating signal. In order to achieve the pulse position modulation, two 555 timer ICs are used, in which the first one operates in the stable mode and the other operates in the monostable mode. The modulating signal is applied at pin number 5 of the first IC 555 in the stable mode. The output of this first IC is a pulse width modulated wave. This PWM signal is then applied to the trigger input pin number 2 of the second IC, which is operating in the monostable mode. The position of the output pulses of the second IC changes according to the pulse width modulated signal, which is again dependent on the modulating signal. Threshold voltage for the first IC, which is determined by the control voltage, that is a modulating signal, it is changed to UTL, that is upper threshold level, and is given by 2/3 of VCC plus V mod. As the threshold voltage changes with respect to the applied modulating signal, because V mod is changing, so UTL will change, the width of the pulse will also change, and hence the time delay is varied. As this pulse width modulated signal is now applied to the trigger of the second IC, there will be no change in either the amplitude or the width of the output pulse, but only the position of the pulse is changed. The waveforms of the pulse position modulated signals are shown here. This is the modulating signal. For the first IC, it will produce a pulse width modulated output. As the modulating voltage is increasing, the pulse width is increasing, and when it is decreasing, the pulse width is also decreasing. This is the output for the second IC, where whenever the pulse goes low, as we had seen in the monostable operation, a negative trigger pulse will generate one output pulse. So when this trigger signal, the pulse width, this pulse width output is acting as a trigger signal for the second IC. So whenever this signal goes low, one pulse will be generated. Again, when this signal goes low, another pulse is generated. So the width and the amplitude and all remains the same, only the position is changing. Thank you for watching this video.